over here, teachers. I hope you can see me and hear me clearly. Uh, Great. So let's quickly begin with the session. Apologies for starting a little late, but we have an interesting topic coming up. I would like to warmly welcome each and every educator out there for another interesting session. 134th Super Sunday workshop, and this time we are getting into an important area of education called as Waldorf Education System. This particular education system is gradually gaining attention in India, and a lot of schools are following the methodology, the curriculum, and the assessment techniques of Waldorf. And when you say Waldorf, exactly what it is. In order to understand Waldorf, we need to understand an important person, and this person is called as Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner, somebody who has been, having two phases of life. He was born in 1861 and passed away in 1925. So before 1900 and after 1900. So early 40 years of his life and the rest 20 years of his life. It's phenomenal change. For the first time in an education system, spirituality was brought into picture. We're going to learn about all these things one by one. In another 40 minutes, we'll have a clear picture on Waldorf education system. One fascinating thing about any time we research on a new education system, may it be IGCSE or IB curriculum, even CBSE for a large extent with the skill subjects coming into picture, uh, it's always fascinating to see that there are inspirations and inscriptions from the Gurukul system of India, which makes me tell you that the next Super Sunday workshop is going to be on Gurukul system. But before getting into that particular part of Gurukul system, I would like to say that Gurukul system has been speaking about Waldorf kind of methodology for a very long time. It was just not documented as sincerely as it is done with Waldorf. And Waldorf never advocated any system as such in particular. It was all about learn yourself, talk to your inner self. It was all about imagination. It was all about inspiration. It was all about imitation. Now, what do I actually mean by it? We're going to understand this. There are going to be multiple jargons in this particular session. I would like to request everybody to please make a note of it, and that will give you a very good perspective on what Waldorf education system is all about. Some of the schools that's quite famous with Waldorf is many of there. However, the Waldorf School in Whitefield in Bangalore, it is mainly for the early childhood kindergarten, and Shloka School at Hyderabad. Even that talks about Waldorf education system to quite some extent. And there are many other schools. In fact, across the globe, there are approximately 1,200 schools which has still high school, experience of Waldorf. However, the kindergartens are much higher, like around 200 2,000 schools across the globe. So we're going to talk about all these things one by one, and give you a different perspective on this particular area of Waldorf education system. I would like to thank each and every participant out there to join again on another Super Sunday workshop. It takes quite a lot of efforts to wake up in the morning and take out the notebooks to learn something on a Sunday. And welcome, we are all teachers. So we are kind of habituated to it. So let's get into the rhythm of learning. Now, when I say rhythm of learning, I intentionally say that. Here we go. So, World of Education Super Sunday Workshop Series, session number 134. Thank you so much for participating regularly, teachers. Means a lot. Let's go forward. So, this particular person, gentleman, is Rudolf Steiner, 1861 to 1925. He has got two periods of his life. One, 1861 to 1900, he was called as a respected scholar. In fact, even now, the people who study about him still are in astonishment and surprise that how can one human being do so many things in one human life. You can actually read about him. I think some of you would have remembered his work, especially with respect to art, in your B.Ed studies and psychology. If you have not, I would request you to please go through him once again. Rudolf Steiner is actually from Austria, and I would like to actually show the map right after this. He was called as a respected scholar in early years of his life, and a mad occultist, in the second part of his life. Now, when people say a mad occultist, occultist is a person who believes in, magic and life after death and multiple other things. It's all about spirituality. It's all about incarnations. In fact, in one of the and respected scholar, a mad occultist is not named by the people. He himself mentioned that in one of his books. He calls that freedom of philosophy. In fact, there is this term called as theosophy. I told you, right? There'll be multiple jargons. If there are any social studies teacher out there in this session, I would request you to please mention what do you mean by theosophy. So basically, when we speak about theosophy, he was the first gentleman to talk about anthroposophy. Now let's quickly understand what is anthroposophy. It is a spiritual philosophy founded by Rudolf Steiner that posits the existence of a spiritual world accessible through inner development, meditation, and spiritual realism. In fact, he also mentioned that he was able to see his grandmother, who very recently passed away, but he was still able to see her. She was able to guide him on certain aspects. So Rudolf Steiner, he was able to do that at 9 years of age. He was able to see. However, when a 9-year-old boy comes and speaks about looking at people who are not existent, people would not take the person seriously. So Rudolf Steiner was so strong about this fact that he did not really speak about it to a very large extent, to a very long time. This person was so much sure about life on another side. It was not religion oriented, it was more spirituality. So he waited for the people to gain respect on him. So he worked on philosophy so much. He led the movement by Helena Blavatsky, who started with something called as the Theosophical Society. So Theosophical Society or Theosophy or theology is all about spirituality, some to a large extent of science of God, something related to that. Let's not get into the details of it, but there is a society which advocates that. There is which society which advocates that spirits and stuff like that. But this person went beyond that, went beyond that. Science of God? No, he was more with philosophy of freedom. So he invented something called as anthroposophy. Now, why is it very important for us to understand Waldorf education system and anthroposophy? Is education system completely about spiritualism or spirituality? No, it's not going to be the case actually. It is more from the perspective of freedom, freedom to learn, freedom to express, freedom to stand in somebody else's shoes. We call it as empathy, right? But look at the detailing this person has done. Look at the detailing. The more you research about Rudolf Steiner, the more you understand that there's more to learn. It's quite a fascinating thing. I would like to quickly go back and show you Austria, and it's my duty to do that because that's where he was born. And yeah, and this all he went to Germany. That's where further explorations happened. So this is the map, and you can see this exact country is called as Austria, and right above that you've got Germany over here. You're able to see that. Let me just zoom out to get you an understanding of in the global map. My mouse pointer is zooming into Austria right now. Now, this particular fact of zooming into a particular country, I'm doing it right now just to give you an understanding that where topographically this location is present. The picturization of this will help you understand how people used to travel from one place to another. He went to France, he went to Germany, he went to Netherlands, Poland, and multiple other countries where he actually laid his foundation in details. So before actually getting into the topic of Waldorf education system, it's very important for us to understand Rudolf Steiner and somebody who followed Rudolf Steiner to a very large extent. It was actually a cigarette factory where this was actually invented, called as Waldorf Education System. Let's not get into the details again, but let's actually focus on what exactly Waldorf Education System is all about. I'll repeat it. He was a great scholar in early years of life, and then he was called as a mad occultist. Both were mentioned by himself, and people still respect him for his theories. In fact, there is a whole fan base following Rudolf Steiner. How did we nearly not know about this person, and how did we not touch this topic quite a long time back? To be honest with all of you, I was actually on the way to explain our computer science curriculum to a very reputed school here in Bangalore called as the Dean's Academy. And while on the way, I saw this world of education system, and I was like, wow, what is this called as? And then the exploration started, which led me to choose this topic called as world of education system. Let's learn about it. Let's learn about it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Stuttgart, Germany. You're right, ma'am. You're right. Farana, ma'am. You're absolutely right. 1919, right? Right. After the World War One. We'll talk about it. Anyways, let's go forward and understand this. So it's all about head, hand, and heart. You remember this? Knowledge, skills, and attitude. See, it boils down to the same KSA all the time. Head, hand, and heart. So what he actually meant by it is when we actually speak about our coordination with the outer world, the education system currently focuses mainly on head, a little bit of hand, and zero heart. according to Waldorf Education system. He says that how many sense organs are there? Now, if I ask you how many sense organs are there, everybody's like five sense organs, right? Five. Everybody's like five. But the moment you get into the Waldorf Education system, it seems that there are actually more. Could anyone in this hall, could anyone in this room guess how many sense organs are actually present? Is it just five? Oh, very good, Sangupta ma'am. You say sixth sense is there. Anything else? Any other number that you feel? Oh, Aikata ma'am. Aikata. Is that your name? AI Kata. Are you an AI bot or something? Eight. Okay. You're very close. Eight. Okay. Sashanka. Okay. 12. Sixth sense. Anybody else would like to guess another number? Any one number? Nine. Okay. Are there seven senses? That's fantastic. Five, 11, 6. Okay. If we give a little more time further, probably you're starting to tell your lucky numbers. Am I right? Okay, Aikata ma'am, you are absolutely correct. It seems that there are eight senses. It seems that there are eight senses, and it's not something that we do not know. It's completely scientific. Please read about it. So we know it is something called a smell, nose. We have sight, we have hearing, we have the taste, and we have the touch. Now, what's interesting about the other three is there is something called as vestibular, there is something called as interoception, and there is something called as proprioception. Now, when I talk about this ability of people to say that I'm hungry right now, what organ do you refer to? See, there is a sense in your body which says that I'm hungry right now. And this hunger message is carried to the brain. Who carries that? Where did it actually come from? Nice, no? And there are chances that whenever you go by flight or uphill or downhill in a car or a bus, sometimes you feel nauseatic. I mean, you feel like puking. Chakkar aata hai karke we say that, right? It has got everything to do with vestibular. It's all about balance and stuff like that. Let's understand this in detail before actually getting into Waldorf education system. So these eight senses, we know the five senses. Let us stick on to vestibular. Now, what vestibular actually means is it is the act of balance. Now, whenever we walk or talk or whenever we move from one place to another, our body is in our control. And this control and coordination happens through a vestibular system. And interestingly, this vestibular system is present inside the ears. And how beautiful it is. Look at this. So there is something called as semicircular canals, like this. And there are two axes. One is x-axis, another is y-axis. Literally, there is an organ that is governing it. In fact, it's called as atricle and then saccule. So basically sensitive to horizontal acceleration and sensitive to vertical acceleration. You have got those two, call it as plates, present exactly in x and y axis. That is the reason when there is a body movement that's happening which is actually not horizontal or not vertical, or which are combination of both, then the vestibular system cannot understand that. The brain cannot process that information, and that is the reason you feel nauseatic. For example, when you go in a hill ride, hill drive, say for example, and there's a hairpin bend. Now that particular movement is horizontal and vertical simultaneously. So you have to take a turn which is going up, and again you have to take a turn towards the right and left and right and left. The brain is not able to process too much of information from the vestibular system, and that is the reason we feel that. In fact, the people who have been experiencing that quite often in their life, they got tuned to it. But unfortunately, the people who have always been grounded, places like Hyderabad, or I would not say Bangalore, it's already 900 meters above the sea level. And then we have got Chennai or Mumbai for that matter. We're always on a plane. Suddenly you go to Ooty or Kulu Manali, or the places where you go, you feel nauseatic. It could also be with a merry-go-round, as somebody very nicely mentioned, swinging exactly, or it could be just playing that Ringa Ringa Roses. Yeah. So it's all about vestibular input. And that is the reason, in fact, people play Ringa Ringa Roses so that this vestibular system gets adapted to it. Nice, no? Another sense organ. Next, go to the seventh one. There is something called as proprioceptive input, which is all related to movement. So this system is in our muscles, tendons, and joint receptors. Exactly wherever body is present right now, depending on the pressure, that's called as proprioceptive. In fact, if I'm here sitting over here, I can feel the pressure on the chair. I can feel the air pressure on my body. I can feel the pressure of the gravity that's pulling me down. And that's the reason I'm there in this position. That's called as proprioceptive. In fact, this also is responsible for understanding a sense of effort. How much push am I actually giving? How much pull am I doing? So this is with respect to proprioceptive. And let's go to the next one. It is called as interoceptive input, which is all related to internal sense organs or senses. For example, I'm feeling thirsty. Who says that? The tongue says that? Actually, no. Tongue is more of water tastes good. That is something that happens after. But there are some internal organs or probably glands that ignite that. So that's basically internal, interoceptive. Feeling hot or cold, needing to go to the toilet. I feel like going to the washroom. Who says that? It's not on the skin. It's not on the eyes or nose or ears. It's internal. That be concluded under the interoceptive. Anxiety is absolutely part of internal. You're right. You're right, Sangupta ma'am. So how fast or deep your breathing is, feeling something tickly or itchy on your skin, pain or tension. In fact, if you have to understand the internal sense organs, people ask you to get into meditation. That's it. So five sense organs plus vestibular, interoceptive, and proprioceptive. These are the three other sense organs that come into play, especially with Waldorf education system. Why? Because early years, when they look into it, it's all about senses, understanding the environment. Now let us get into the topic of Waldorf education system. What they actually do is, in the first 7 years of age, it is categorized under something called as imitation. It is all about perception. I'm there in this surrounding. I'm going to move in this surrounding. I am going to move like the way my friends are moving. I'm going to move like the way my teacher is moving. I am going to do an activity like the way I have seen it in the nature. Everything is about imitation. Everything is about imitation. The learning does not happen on a book. In fact, formal education of reading and writing does not start till 7 years of age. It's all about understanding the environment. Look at this. The child learns primarily through doing and observing. They absorb the world through their senses, watching adults, imitating gestures, speech, rhythm, and tone. Hence, role modeling and environment are everything. Learning happens through play, movement, rhythm, and sensory experience, not formal teaching at all. They don't even know the letters. ABCD 1 to 10, that's numeracy and literacy, which can be enhanced, but there's no special education on that. It's completely fine if they don't learn that. So, keyword is imitation, corresponds to physical and sensory development. I'll tell you one beautiful thing. This is the curriculum of imitation 0 to 7 years. Basically, this is called as seven phases of Steiner's education system. So basically what happens is for these 7 years, the teachers are always the same. They don't change the teachers at all. In fact, an excellent Waldorf education system curriculum is a place where the teachers do not change even in the next phase. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. The second 7 years, 7 to 14 years, is all about imagination. The previous was imitation, the second was imagination. Now, once the children got the perspective of their surroundings and the way they learn from the surroundings, it's important for us to give the right surroundings. That's a different part called as pedagogy. We'll touch that. However, the second phase is called as imagination. Now, here the child gives importance to the secondary emotions apart from happiness, sadness. Now it goes to, the next level of empathy, anxiety problem or excitement or joy. All these comes into picture where the children imagine things. This is the age of wonder, storytelling, and creativity. And in this particular area, they talk about something very interesting called as painting, woodwork, something called as gardening. What's beautiful about this is the whole world of education system revolves around one word called as art. ART. Now, this is not about art to display. I'm not talking about visual arts or performing arts. This art is much broader according to world of education system. They say that in order to learn about, say I would like to learn about the kind of different kinds of people in different locations, rather than having a descriptive explanation to it, they ask the children to build a house. A part of students is asked to actually make a igloo. Probably some students are asked to make a tree house, and when they use the materials, they're guided by saying that here you have to use this material, and the exploration goes in a manner where, why did the people use wood over here, why did the people use ice over here? I hope you're getting the point over here. Science comes after the art. So art is given the priority and science takes a back seat. So this is the age of wonder, storytelling, and creativity. Teachers connect emotionally and artistically. Subjects are taught through stories, music, drawing, drama. Specifically in the higher classes, it's all about drama. I told you, no, drama is very important. Very, very important. The teacher becomes a beloved authority figure, guiding moral and emotional growth. Very important point that I have written over here. Perfect. It mentions that one of the key components of Waldorf education system is the ability of children to love the teacher and the ability of the teacher to love the children. And they give very like a lot of importance to the word called as love, affection. They give importance to emotions to much larger extent. I really have one point mentioned somewhere in the slide, but I would like to mention that right now. They work on this methodology of no instructions. Suppose, let's say an example where the children are throwing sand on each other. So it is somebody has to come and tell, right? Don't throw the sand. It's not the right thing to do. Somewhere no has to come into picture, right? But look at Waldorf education system. It's called as redirection. What they actually do is they say that rather than telling don't throw the sand on the other people, they come and tell that sand do not have wings. They don't fly. They're not supposed to fly. Let us put them down. Interestingly, they are going in the channel of the students, not saying don't, but saying that sand does not have wings. Imagine the age category over here. The children will be like, oh, yes, let it be there down. The teacher is also having fun with us, something like that. So, this is something beautiful about the love aspect of. Imagination in this particular category. So basically, keyword is imagination corresponds to emotional and artistic development. Exactly. No, the place. Okay, oh, you often assign this manner, like providing a box of materials and asking the children to create it. Perfect, Sangupta ma'am, you're absolutely right. This could find a place. Okay. Third 7 years, it's adolescence, and they go to till 21 years of age. One reason being because, according to Waldorf education system, the complete maturity of a brain happens only at 21 or 22, and the children get together and learn things. And they're absolutely right. You remember we were talking about amygdala and prefrontal cortex. You remember we were speaking about prefrontal cortex actually getting developed only at 21 or 22 years of age, and they've done that very seriously in their education system. That's nice, right? So third 7 years, 14 to 21, it's all about inspiration. It's not about I say something that you learn. No, you get inspired by a certain discipline and learn. You can choose what to learn. This is the exact place. So the adolescent learns through thinking, questioning, and judgment. This is the age of critical reflection, reasoning, and individuality. And what's really interesting about this particular part is the individuality that they're talking about here. It is like respecting the other person more for their talent than choosing what you want. I would like to repeat this point. I would like to stop sharing the screen over here. Irrespective of whatever curriculum that we are into, this point of world of education system really caught me off guard. I'll tell you. It seems that according to world of education system, everybody when they look at another child, the children when they look at other people, in a setup where there is equal competition, like everybody has to pass an exam in maths, so there is a sense of competition which leads to a sense of jealousy as well. Like if a child scores really well, the other person gets, this time this fellow went ahead of me. Next time I should. So there's a sense of competition which is all about snatching that first spot. According to World of Education, so that system doesn't exist. They say that, oh, you're good at maths, you've scored really well. I couldn't, but that's okay. I scored really well with my art, something like that. So the other person who scored well in maths probably respects this person because he's good at arts. This person respects the other person because he's good at maths, and there is a collaboration on a particular activity. So the point is, they make sure that everybody gets to be appreciated about what they have done, what they are interested in. And unfortunately, that's not the case with CBSE kind of system. Well, here the scope of learning is much higher because the content is very different, but in CBSE it's not the case, right? So yeah, so students are guided to form their own values, ideas, and worldview, thinking freely and acting responsibly. The teacher becomes a mentor and a facilitator, encouraging dialogue and independent inquiry. The keyword is inspiration, corresponds to cognitive and moral development. I would request you to please meet a child who is in this category of schooling in world of education system. You'll be surprised the way they talk is completely different. Yeah, if it is seriously taught in the school. So basically, the summary is developmental mode, learning by imitation, play, rhythm, sensory experience, learning by feeling, imagination, art, story, emotion based, which is for 7 to 14 years of category. 14 to 21, learning by thinking, inspiration, intellect, reasoning, ethics, self awareness. So, this is the summary of the curriculum. I hope you got to understand what exactly is the curriculum. Now, let us go to the next part. Uh, okay, my mistake put Waldorf curriculum. So, these are the Waldorf curriculum's important points. Rooted in child development stages, Steiner's 7-year phases, we saw that. Designed to align with the inner growth of the child, not just academic milestones. Every subject is an art form. Look at this. First is math through rhythm and movement. The children literally dance in the class. They tap their feet. They learn fractions through that. I would like to show some videos right after this. History through storytelling. Storytelling is given a lot of importance according to the science behind freedom. So there is this book called as Waldorf Education System, The Science of Freedom. It seems that the person who can really experience freedom, they are the best storytellers out there. In fact, this roots back to the place where there's one theory which states that Adolf Hitler, I'll repeat it, Adolf Hitler was actually scared of Rudolf Steiner. Why? Because Steiner was able to narrate stories to Hitler sometimes, just during that war phase. This happened in Stuttgart in Germany. You should actually read about it. He was so beautiful that uh, Hitler was not able to forget the fact that it was a story. The imagination, the picturization of the storytelling was so beautiful that it becomes very difficult for the listener to believe that it did not happen. Did you understand? So when you say a story, a picture has to get created so powerfully well that it kinds of remain in your brain as the picture that you imagine forever, that you find it very hard to believe, did it really happen or not? So that's beautiful part of storytelling. So history through storytelling, science through observation and journaling, language through music and poetry. And you have got 2 to 3 hour morning sessions focusing deeply on one subject for 3 to 4 weeks. So you don't have multiple subjects over here. One second, by mistake, somebody's given the phone to their child, if I'm not wrong, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, okay, and okay. 2 to 3 hour morning sessions focusing deeply on one subject. Interesting, right? Encourages immersion, retention, and deep conceptual understanding. Finally, classrooms extends to gardens, farms, and forests. They don't have one particular blocked four walls. Very rarely they do that, but mostly the children are outside. Due to certain copyright issues of various videos, I'm not able to play certain videos of how does it look like in Waldorf Education System. I'll play definitely a video so you can actually look into it. So this is the curriculum of Waldorf Education System. I hope you got an understanding. Now, how to teach this? We just learned this. How to teach this? That's basically called as Waldorf pedagogy. So here you have got basically 6 way: storytelling and imagination. It's all about concepts are introduced through vivid stories, drama, imagery. Then it is abstracted later. That is something put on the paper. The children learn knitting, embroidery, woodwork, and clay mechanisms, whatnot, in grade 1 and 2 itself. At the age of 4 to 5 years, they start learning this. It literally runs for 3 to 4 weeks. So teaching fractions through cutting a cake or weaving patterns. They literally weave. You should see that. It was so cute when the children are actually doing it with so much of precision. There used to be this activity by my art teacher during my school days. You remember the sewing machine ka needle that you use through a hands? It'll have a small hole over there, and you have a thread actually. So there used to be a competition in our class. She used to give that, and we have to actually put that thread inside properly. So you could use any techniques if you want to, but the point is, the ability of you to put that right over there directly depends on your fine motor skills, and they've done that over here. And interestingly, when they speak about knitting, embroidery, and all these things, they talk about mathematics to a large extent. And when I say maths, they don't call it maths, they call it as geometry. And geometry also has got something called as perception. Like when you look at pyramid from the top, probably it looks like a square, but when you come down, you understand that it's basically a pyramid, something like that, or a triangle from the side view. So this is all about imitation, perception, early days. Rhythm and routine is all about dance, predictable daily and seasonal rhythms, promote security and harmony, circle time, songs, verses, and seasonal festivals. Teacher continuity. A class teacher often stays with the same group for 5 to 8 years, builds trust, empathy, and deep understanding of each child's growth. Greatest disadvantage for a teacher who is in a Waldorf education system is you can't resign. I'm just saying. I mean, you can, of course, there is a system, but ideally, you're not supposed to. Ideally, you're not supposed to because it's not about your job. It's about your life. You're dedicating your 5 to 8 years of your life to that set of children. So you've got one child at home or two children at home, your own child, you gave birth to. There are probably 25 others whom you did not give birth to. Equally, you have to give the same importance, and they're there in the school, and they're there for quite a long time with you. So yes, exactly. Dhatimam, you're right. Science says more than 80% of the brain develops at the age of 8. And that is the reason the brain development is directly related to the sensory inputs, right? So according to Waldorf education system, let's give maximum importance to sensory inputs before that time. That's the reason it's happening. You're right. A lot to do with the geometry. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Oh, everybody's quite excited today. Okay. Eurythmy and movement is all about music and dance. Some people have this habit of, dancing and having a pattern and then learning. There are many. In fact, the choir in a church, or it could be a poetry, or it could be even a maths formula for that matter. You can have rhythm to it. It seems that the heartbeat is the first evidence. The heartbeat is the first evidence for a life to be born in a mother's womb, right? Yeah, yeah, heartbeat. And that starts with a rhythm. So, how can you avoid rhythm in your school life or in your future life, or at least in your education life? Look at the detailing over here, eurythmy, and people call it as eurythmy. I would request you to please go through it. And then minimal technology. In fact, exactly, speech and movement together, Faranamam. You're right. You're right. Minimal technology, emphasis on sensory learning, imagination, and human connection. Screens reduced, or in fact introduced only after foundational human skills are strong. It could be in the second phase of 7 years, or it could be even in the third phase. But screen time they are avoiding to a very large extent. So it's minimal technology. If you go to the school, no, a world of school, it'll be so natural. The toys that they have will be with wooden materials. The walls will be with natural colors. Now when I say natural colors, these colors can be felt in the nature in reality. I mean, they are not mix of two colors. For example, fluorescent colors, like you can't see that fluorescent yellow that you generally see in a pre-primary school. You will not find that in a Waldorf school. Waldorf school will be probably you know peach color, something that's red color, or the real yellow I'm talking about, like that. No fluorescence and stuff like that. Yeah. And then you have got holistic teacher role. Teacher is a guide, teacher is a storyteller, teacher is the artist. And if at all a teacher in this particular group get into Waldorf education system and come out, I'm telling you, you're going to become an all-rounder. You'll be a singer, you'll be a dancer. The kind of confidence that these people carry, these teachers carry, is so enormous because they know everything, and they have to know everything. And when I say everything, let me quickly write that off. So this is mentioned very clearly: drawing, painting, poetry reciting, drama, singing, and a musical instrument, at least one, woodwork, knitting, embroidery, sports, foreign languages, and all the center of all of these teaching is through the art form. Now, this could be using clay, carpentry, whatever it is. A teacher from this kind of system can be highly creative, really happy. Why? Because they are not learning things out of pressure. They are definitely stretching the learning. The students might get overwhelmed, no doubt about it, but it's not out of pressure, it's out of self initiation. That's nice, no? So holistic teacher pedagogy blends art, science, and empathy. Yeah. Let's go forward and understand this. Waldorf assessments. There are no standardized tests in early years. Focus on observation and reflection. And in fact, the assessment of each student is different from different parameters. There are certain basic parameters, 7 parameters as per the document that I mentioned, but some schools mention that they have got their own system of assessment. And each teacher assesses the respective child in their own way, in their choice of learning, or in their choice of subject. Hence, there is no standardized test as such. Next is descriptive reports. Teachers write a detailed evaluations covering intellectual, artistic, and social growth of every child independently. So it's like when I say independently, it's not a common platform where all of them are measured at the same scale. Yeah, your measurement about yourself, that person's measure. So this particular teacher will have to know each and every history, geography, biography, science, maths of that particular child completely, right from the family background. And that's why parents are involved in the system to a very large extent. Parent teacher collaboration, frequent narrative discussions, not marks or ranks. What is he doing? Is he taking initiatives? Is he learning with the people? Is he able to have this something called as curiosity? Is the child able to collaborate with other person? These discussions happen quite often. Self-assessment, older students reflect on their learning journey and progress by themselves. It's more about self-assessment. Now that leads us to one final video on understanding what is Waldorf education system. And this is done by basically the people who have undergone this education system. So I would like to actually request you to look into this. You'll get a very good understanding, and there is a synopsis of how the class actually looks like. Right after that, we'll be having our concluding session. Here we go.
What Waldorf does for you is it definitely gives you this total curiosity about the world. There's kind of this Waldorf effect of being so eager to learn and curious about everything. Instead of it being kind of mashed down and packed into boxes, you just get to kind of flourish into that.
The thing with Waldorf is they teach you how to learn. And not only do they teach you how to learn, they teach you how to want to learn. Creating this desire and ability to find the answers that need to be found and to seek out the information that you need, which really gave me, I feel, a wonderful base, particularly in those sciences that I kind of drifted towards later on in my education.
I could land anywhere and hit the ground running without really skipping a beat. I can't promise that I'll only do film for the rest of my life. I'm going to do it until I stop loving it. And I think having that confidence that I have permission to do that is something that Waldorf really instills within you.
I really enjoyed the arts, and of course a lot of the kinesthetic stuff, metal smithing, handwork. I still knit and sew today. The artistic kind of fields or disciplines that we did, I think, really contribute to this idea of thinking outside the box and thinking about what other ways can we approach situations, how can we be creative, and I think that's really important when you work in a large bureaucracy like I do.
One of the things I've noticed with the kind of the performance arts that Waldorf focuses on, so both things like eurythmy, when you do performances, when you stand up on stage and sing, the theater, what I think is really amazing is every student has to do that. And I think because of that, everyone gets a certain type of comfort level in front of people. And no matter what industry you're in, that's going to come in handy. Going in for a job interview, something as simple as that, having an experience where you've been in front of large groups, maybe in something that you aren't so comfortable in, is going to make a big difference.
The activities we did in craft, knitting, working with wood, working with stone, manipulating objects, allowed me to develop this idea of, with a sense of shape and geometry, a relation between objects. To manipulate something quite simple and make something complex, that you have to have a picture in your mind before you can actually make it, I think helps a lot when you try to make a model of an object in space. This is certainly one of the key aspects of going through a Waldorf education.
It gives you that kind of a little bit of a superhero complex. That's the only danger, sending your kid there.
So yeah, that's definitely an important point. You definitely get the complex of being a superhero because you know almost everything. So that's with respect to the understanding world of education system through the alumni of certain students. There are a lot of educative videos which I could really not focus on considering the copyrights issues. However, I would like to request all the teachers and educators out there to please go and explore. Before we conclude on the session today, I would like to quickly tell some important points. So one of the key aspects of Waldorf is that it was founded in a cigarette factory, Waldorf cigarette factory in Stuttgart in Germany. Why? Because there was no social justice. Rudolf Steiner was like, irrespective of irrespective of the background that you have. You can learn anything because the surrounding is common to everyone. It's not that the surrounding of black people is different and the surrounding of white people is different. Surrounding is given by nature. And if that's the case, how can learning be different? And if that's the case, how can we have different schools? So let's start something called as our own schooling system. That's the birth of it. Importance of this particular point is when the school began, the importance was given to social justice, which is purely an emotional aspect of learning. Beautiful, right? It was not knowledge and skill. It was the heart. It was the attitude. Right after that, learning foreign languages was important, mandatory in fact. Why? It's important to understand the culture of your neighbors, of your friends. Only then you'll be able to respect your culture and their culture. It's not important about saying that, our culture is the best or your culture is the best. It's about knowing that there are multiple cultures and respecting each and everything. It's important to know. You can't ignore that. Not all the people are same. They are different, and it's beautiful that they are different. That's the point. It's again a beautiful point that I came to know from Rudolf. And another interesting fact about 7+ years of age of education system is 0 to 7 or 0 to 8. Basically, the brain develops really fast. Here in this case, you can't teach the students on multiplications and additions and subtraction, which is categorized under intellectuality. So intellectuality at an early age reduces the social and emotional learning capacity of a student. And that is the reason intellectuality can take a little later step. It's completely fine. Let them learn from the surrounding. And that's what many schools are actually following. Rudolf Steiner also mentioned something about anthroposophy, which is about human wisdom, which is in subordination with theosophy, which is about divine wisdom. I'll repeat it. He was not so much into God. He was about self, human wisdom, but he was into spirituality to a much larger extent than theosophy. So that's another important point. And finally, one last thing is learning is not something that happens right now. It's a lifelong process. Hence, wanting to learn is the ability that I have to learn during my school days and not a constant knowledge or skills that present in the book. That's with respect to Rudolf Steiner. So I would request all the teachers out there to please get into the details of Rudolf Steiner and the details of Waldorf Education System. For that, I would like to share my screen and show some of the websites. There is this website called as Association of Waldorf Schools of North America. Even India has got its own website. Let's quickly look into it, and you can actually go through it and learn more about it. In case if there is any parent out there in this particular batch today who is just wanting to put the child into a certain, I would say, school, you can consider like IB, Montessori, and Waldorf into the system, apart from CBSE, ICSE, and Cambridge, curriculum. So for that, sensory health, no, forget about this. These are some of the papers and websites that I used to research today for the session. I hope I didn't delete everything. And no, let me go back over here. Here it is. So here you've got great. So waldorf100.org is a very good website from where you can actually completely understand the history of where did it actually begin from. And then you have got this one, AWSNA. So basically this is the Association of Waldorf Schools in North America. And this is called as waldorfeducation.org. And here also you can come and understand the three areas, 7 7 7 years, you remember, early childhood education, then grades education, then high school education. Click on each of them to learn more about how it actually functions. And that is why I told you, like, it relates to the Gurukul system in India to a very large extent. So next is Shloka World of, this is basically the Hyderabad school that I was exploring. And then Bangalore Steiner School is another school that was actually exploring. And then you've got one more. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Great. International Association for Steiner, World of Early Childhood Education. So even this is a very good website to understand what Steiner education is all about. And all of these things are actually present in the curriculum today, in the slides today. I would like to share the presentation with all of you right away. So for that, I would like to click on share. And right after that, I need to click on restricted. Anyone with the link, copy link, and then we come to the chat both on Zoom and YouTube. Here we go, Waldorf Education. And then now you can look into it. That's it. Yeah, let me stop sharing the screen. So, thank you so much, teachers. Great interacting with one and all. I hope you got a gist on what Waldorf Education System is all about. That led me to an exploration in the area of Gurukul system, which will be our next Super Sunday topic that will get reflected on the website tomorrow. And then we can get into the details. A small effort, a regular effort, you could really gain so much of confidence. I'm pretty sure there are going to be parents coming to your school asking you questions related to, ma'am, what is this world of education system all about? And this time you're actually waiting for this question because you know the answer to it. And knowing that you know the answer to a question increases a lot of confidence, and that confidence drives our system in a particular school. You can question anyone, and you can question knowing the answer, and that power, it's phenomenal. Anyways, thank you so much, teachers. Great interacting with one and all. I would like to meet you again in the next Super Sunday workshop. Until then, Jai Hind. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhavati ma'am. Thank you so much, Prerna World of School. Oh, Farhana ma'am. Thank you so much for giving that. I would like to learn about it. And you were quite excited today. Good to see you, Farhana ma'am. Thank you, Madhu ma'am, Revati ma'am, Sri Kumari ma'am. Thank you so much. Rupa ma'am, Shruti ma'am, Mangala ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Anita ma'am. Nupesh sir, Musarat ma'am, Dolly ma'am. Thank you. Oh, thank you for giving that confidence. Deva Manogari ma'am, Nandri ma'am, thank you so much. Trupti ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you, Veena ma'am. Thank you, Archana ma'am. Today we did not touch on the comparisons of world of education system with IB, Montessori, and CBSE. Deliberately, it will just unnecessarily create the advantages and disadvantages. That's not the agenda of the session today. It is all about just an exposure. You have your own perceptions on what's advantages and what's not. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Pramila ma'am. Thank you so much, Gina ma'am. Mitali ma'am, thank you so much. Nisha ma'am, thank you. Sukhdira ma'am, thank you so much. Great. Good to see all of you. Thank you, Lopamudra ma'am. Looking at you for a long time. Thank you, Rakhi ma'am. Thank you, Sarabjit ma'am. Good to see you, ma'am. Great. Anita ma'am, thank you. Dharti ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you, Reena ma'am. Means a lot. Thank you, Suchishmita ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ravichandran sir. Thank you so much. Brinit, sorry, Brinta ma'am, right? Yeah, thank you. Ganesh sir, thank you so much. Sharmila ma'am, thank you. Okay, Pramisha ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you, Parna ma'am. Thank you so much. Ritu ma'am, thank you. Absolutely, Sarabjit ma'am, you're right. Nagarata ma'am, Meenakshi ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Vali ma'am, thank you so much. Raja Rajeshwari ma'am, you're superb too. Thank you so much. Lalita ma'am, thank you. Great, great, great. You'll get your certificates by the weekend. Thank you, Dolly ma'am, means a lot. 23 years in Waldorf, Farana ma'am. Eager to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shravani ma'am. Great, Rajeshwari ma'am. Thank you so much. Great. So let's conclude on the session, and I would like to meet you again in the next Super Sunday workshop with Gurukul system of education, especially from India. And it's a weekend. The leaves are about to start right after this week. We'll have Diwali. I hope Diwali is not on Sunday. Oh, luckily it's on Monday. If it's on Sunday, my wife, my family will kill me. Anyways, have a super Sunday. One family we have. Let's spend time with them. Bye, everyone.